something different about Classic. 18 years and 9 expansions later, people still want to play the original version of the game.
Yes.
So what makes Classic so special?
There's nothing to do in retail right now. That's...
If there was a Classic Plus, chat, would you guys be okay with tuning of classes like Boomkins, Shadow Freeze, Red Paladin?
What if they open Grim Patrol?
Here's a... Oh, fuck, I'm going to do it again. Here's a part of the problem. Remember, chat. Remember when I said yes to this sort of stuff when they originally announced Classic, and I was like, listen, I think this is going to be fucking sick. I can get behind it, but I hope that they do tuning of classes then. And do you guys remember that I got legitimate death threats because I said that Classic should be changed a little bit and there should be some better tuning done and some things like changed a little bit so the game is like more fair? And then 2.5 months later, everyone was like, holy fuck, my class sucks. Why can't I play my class? You guys remember that? Because I fucking remember. It was some of the worst time for me as a streamer, right?
It's not just that Classic is good, it's also that it's not retail. People are tired of the way retail WoW is going.
Blizzard thinks, oh, you know, the majority of players, they just want, you know, the new sparkles, they want the new mounts.
Dude, I hate this game. This game made you, dude. I don't care.
People ask, why not play it on retail? Would that be fun, Czar?
It just seems like over and over, Classic WoW just keeps getting the attention. It keeps getting the limelight. That's where players want to be.
Cash shops, a fragment.
It's a very cherry-picked point of view because there are plenty of people that want to play retail. And implying that, like, nobody wants to play retail and every single player wants Classic is just simply untrue, right? It's a very well-made video and it's done fucking sick and stuff like that so far, but it is very hand-picked.
Fragmented world and story, loss of class identity, an absurd amount of bloat, and expansions that make all previous content.
Yeah, you could say the same about, like, you could say a lot of the same about fucking Classic. I think Classic rotation is fucking horrible when you're talking about PvE. It is fucking disgusting how boring it is. You watch a lot of the best players in the world do their rotation in PvE. You watch the best guilds in the world do their PvE rotation in Classic. The mechanics are fucking non-existent. They're non-existent. Like the Classic mechanics are, if you're like a decent raider in retail, you'd probably step in, fuck it up week 1, or they'd show you how to do it, and then you go, okay, I get it now, and that's it. Right? And then rotations are literally nothing. It is nothing, right?
Completely worthless, causing the world to feel infinitely smaller.
You serious?
This is like one of the biggest problems in WoW. Every expansion removed everything that existed before. That is not how you want to expand an MMO in general. The game is basically smaller than it was ever before because all of this is actually completely useless.
At its core.
I fucking love Kungan. I lived on his couch for a week, right? I was invited, but just to be very clear. When I went to Gothenburg, I stayed with him for a week. He's a fucking good dude. I'm good friends with him, right? I don't like this narrative that we use sometime when it comes to stuff like this, because I think it's a very false narrative. And what I mean by that is you cannot, again, I say this all the time, you can't look at numbers like this. And I don't disagree with what he's saying, right? I don't disagree that getting rid of the last expansion is necessarily the play. But I don't like when it's worded like that because, again, like I say all the fucking time, you cannot look at numbers of vanilla, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and then sort of starting to fall off at Kata. You can't look at numbers of not just WoW. You have to look at numbers of all MMORPGs. MMORPGs are not what they were back then. When MMORPGs were in their peak, Wrath of the Lich King, you would go into an internet cafe and every motherfucker in that internet cafe was playing World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, Dota on Warcraft or Counter-Strike or StarCraft. Right? Like that's it. Nowadays, it's Fortnite, it's League of Legends, it's stuff like that. There's a lot of these free-to-play games that even if you don't enjoy it and I don't enjoy it, right? It's what the masses are playing. So when you look at stuff like this, I think it's a little not right. Again, it's great for the video, fits the narrative for the video really fucking well, and it's smart to put it in there. But I don't think it's a great idea to have that without clarifying that. I don't think it's good, right?
Completely useless.
At its core, WoW and its expansion system is fundamentally flawed.
During Legion, they took a risk with artifact power, a never-ending grind, and it was met very, very well by the players. Battle for Azeroth is already in production. It's not until the end of Legion that people start getting annoyed with artifact power. Oh no, our next expansion has exactly the same system in place, and there's nothing they can do about it. We've already built it.
It's not even that the game has changed.
Legion was seen as one of the best expansions ever made by a lot of players. I'll just throw that out there. I think for me, Legion is probably the most fun I've ever had in any expansion. So I don't really, I think that's, if we're going to use our personal opinions, I can't say I agree with what he said there.
It's that it's now a different game entirely. The people who enjoy retail are for the most part a completely different type of consumer, but there is clearly still a market for the old WoW.
The reason Classic is so much better is because everything you do in Classic matters, and everything you do in retail feels like it doesn't matter at all. It feels like it's gone tomorrow. But in Classic WoW, everything feels good because it's such a goddamn bad.
You know what I just thought about? Do you know why? And I think this is a bit of a hitting the nail on the head. You know why I think a lot of people feel like that? Not everyone, but I just had a revelation. Do you know why I think a lot of people feel this way? Because of the amount of people that aren't new players, but they're returning players that have come back and played the game. Because I can fucking tell you, like, I obviously stopped Mythic raiding this expansion for the first time ever playing the game. But I can fucking tell you, even when it comes to raids that I wasn't necessarily a big fan of, right? When you look at stuff like the Jailer, when you look at stuff, I had to, where was I? I left after Anduin, right? But even stuff like Anduin, even stuff like, you know, the raid before, right? Look at Castle Nathris. I really enjoyed Side to Nathris. It was a fucking great fight. I felt just as much happiness and stuff like that when I killed the boss. God, what else is there? What was the raid beforehand, right? You look at BFA, right? Nylothar was I mean, the cinematic was fucking dog water, but it was like, I think a lot of people, when you hear this narrative of like, that there's nothing rewarding in retail, I think a lot of these people probably don't, and I'm not saying this about this guy, but I think a lot of people just stop playing the game in like Wrath and they've come back to play Classic. And that's why they feel so rewarded playing it. It's like, sure, you could say it, but if you don't play retail and you haven't done a lot of the retail stuff, I think it's unfair to say, right?
Classic Plus is
Thank you,
the
Dutch
idea
Code.
Blizzard should take the original version of the game and expand on it. Keep that one world, but add new content in line with what made Vanilla so great. Turn it into a true forever game. This isn't a new concept. Blizzard needs to learn, steal, and listen. Imagine a game with an open line of communication between the players and the devs, where new potential content is voted for. A game that places an emphasis on the world.
Wouldn't work. Wouldn't work because content creators' ideas would just fucking dumpster the votes. You can't use that concept because the game would be made for people like Asmon or someone like Soda or someone that can swing a vote enough that there would be that many people that would just start voting for it. It happens on RS. They obviously don't play it. Does it? Okay. If there still was an overactive borrowed power in retail, I could see some of the complaints, but there was way better setup for retail in future. I disagree with the statement that there's nothing to do in retail at the moment. I mean, look, I go against the grain all the time. I think one of the biggest issues that World of Warcraft has right now is they're making it a seasonal game. I think it's the worst possible thing for the game. The fact that we have no grind. There is no grind at the moment. There's nothing really to work towards, in my opinion, as a player. For the most part, I think is one of the worst decisions that we have. It's never been like You can be the most anti-retail person in the fucking world, but I've had people try and argue with me in the last couple of months and say that gearing is hard right now, leveling is hard, gearing ults is hard. And I'm sorry, if you think that way, you just don't play retail. You just don't. You just don't. Or you're like getting max level and then logging off. Like you can get full PvP geared in enough to like queue for BGs or solo queue so you can start working on gear in fucking hours, right? In terms of PvE, there are quests that you can do straight away that give you like a heroic piece of gear. There is 405 gear that can be upgraded that you can get within like, I think every 15 minutes you can work on the gear. You can do Mythic Plus. Now, Mythic Plus is hard to get into, but you can always start your own groups. That's the advice that I give people. Go into a Mythic dungeon. It'll give you a key. Or you can go and say, I've misplaced my key. Then you start your own group and then just get geared fucking Andes and go in there and do it and just work on 5-6 keys. But to say that there's no grind in WoW, to say that WoW is hard right now in terms of gearing and stuff is absurd. It's an absurd notion.
Not the players, where you get rewarded for the way you want to play.
Classic era servers may include new content that differs from the experience of the original WoW.
Classic logo, right there.
Classic's full potential is Classic Plus.
That is what Vanilla Plus really means, is it not? Unlimited potential.
This video is very well made, but it's very biased. It's very biased and very one-side opinionated.
Blizzard have an opportunity to undo years of missteps, to unveil a new timeline. Classic Plus will be a love letter to its players. A shift is happening in the gaming community.
It'll be a love letter to classic streamers because all they'll fucking see is dollar signs. They're like, woo, we got content for fucking years again, boys.
And in November, when we have our first BlizzCon in years, you'll see it too. Classic Plus will be a new era for WoW.
I think if they do Classic Plus, they'll say Classic Plus is going to happen, but it's going to happen in Blizzard time. And what they mean by that is it's going to be a long way off. If people think it's going to be announced and like coming out next week, that's where I think they're fucking out of their brains or something.